I think this is. I don't think he's going to end up playing for another team. I think it's like Heyward or Troy Polamalu. I think that's maybe where their head was at the start, but I think in the end, he's going to play out this year. It's going to go good, not great. And he's going to look around and he's going to say at the end of the year, could I play for $10 or $11 million? Of course I could. But I value myself as a $20 million player. No one's willing to pay me that much, so I'm good.
So there's Pony saying just before the Cam Heyward contract comes out that Cam's probably going to walk away at the end of the year. Now, I will, for the sake of being fair, let the people know, Dorin, and let you know that early in the day when we did our show, I wasn't feeling good about it. Kaboli wasn't feeling good about it. It didn't sound like Cam Heyward was feeling good about it. But he should be feeling great today, my man.
Feeling awesome.
3 years, $45 million, $16 million signing bonus, $29 million in new money. But here's the rub. One, the Steelers actually saved $9 million against the cap this year. So some cap savings here. Cam gets the $16 million right now, so of course he's going to be happy about that. But the Steelers aren't tied to Cam Heyward after this season. If Cam Heyward, God forbid, should get hurt again, they could cut him after the year. If he doesn't play well, and he's clearly not the same guy, they could cut him after the year. After this season, there's nothing in the way of guarantees. It's basically a team option kind of deal. So if he's good enough after this season, he'll be back next year. If he's good next year, he'd be back the following year. He's the 20th now, highest paid defensive lineman in the National Football League. I thought he was trying to be top 5, top 10. Nope, he's 20th. If you are a Steelers fan, you are a Cam Heyward fan. I don't know how anybody can not like this. I think this is a hell of a deal for the Steelers, and I think this is a nice olive branch extended to a guy who can carry the flag for this franchise and has been nothing but a professional for a decade and a half now.
This is exactly what we've been talking about the whole time, too. I mean, I don't know about the incentives. Incentives probably will come out, which he probably can get some escalators where he does meet certain thresholds of, sacks or whatever, tackles. But, I mean, you give him some money up front. You're going to guarantee basically this year. He gets the sign, he gets that check right off the bat, bang, and then he's just got to play for the rest of the 2 years. I mean, 2 years, $29 million?
Yeah.
You got to play for. This is a great contract for the Steelers, and it's a good contract for Cam Heyward. I think he's obviously very happy, or he wouldn't have signed it, but this is, I think, all around perfect. I don't understand why people are against it. Like, there are some people, like you said, out there saying, like, oh, this is a disaster. The guy's getting old. I'm like, well, did you read the actual terms of the contract and how it's laid out? Because the Steelers are going to save money this year, and we'll probably get into that. What are they saving it for?
Yeah.
They're going to save money this year against the cap. They're going to give him some money up front. This year's guaranteed, and the next 2 years, play for it.
You couldn't ask for a better contract as a Steelers fan.
No.
And the hope is, I think, that he plays all 3 years.
For sure.
But he's in his mid-30s, and I don't think there's a bad guy here. When you've got a player who, when they're healthy, is very good, but you don't know if they can stay healthy, this is the best you can ask for. You reward a guy for being a great soldier this offseason. Mm-hmm. He didn't sit out. He didn't go all Brandon Ayuk. He didn't do the thing that the Jets boob is doing in New York. He is just a Pittsburgh Steeler through and through, wanted to be here, wants to be a one-helmet guy, and showed them that by being the utmost professional. But you can't, if you're the Steelers, give any guaranteed money beyond this year because you just don't know how he's going to age. Mm-hmm. Grady Jarrett, who we're going to see on Sunday for the Falcons, he's getting paid slightly more money this year than is Cam Heyward. He's 31. There's a couple of 31-year-olds in the top 20 of defensive tackles in the NFL. But the majority of them, just real quick, Dorin, 30, 29, 27, 26, 27, 27, 30, 27, 27, 30, 29, 31, 25, 29, 29, 27, 27, 31. Grady Jarrett's the oldest of the rest of these guys. You cannot pay a 35-year-old guy who was hurt last season guaranteed money when he's going to be 36.
Right.
This is a young man's sport. That is a young man's position.
Yes.
Cameron Heyward has broken the mold there, and you do want to see it out, but you can't guarantee anything. And they didn't.
Right.
He was going to be here one way or the other. He was going to make his money this year one way or the other. Now you just write it on one check for a signing bonus. You lower your cap hit. If you're against this deal, we'll give you the floor at 412-928-9370. Why would you be against it? Again, 412-928-9370 on the Fan Hotline, presented by Sullivan Super Service, Pittsburgh trusted plumbing and HVAC provider for over 50 years. And I remind you that the Fan Morning Show is brought to you by Guardian Protection, your hometown home and business security company. We had talked about this before. You've got Keanu Benton. I don't think Larry Ogunjobi is going to be back next year. Montravius Adams is a nice player. Do you want him starting and playing 80% of the snaps next season? Probably not. You needed to do this because if you don't do this, then you are forced basically into making defensive linemen your first-round pick next year. And oh, by the by, they have needs a wide receiver and a cornerback and another place as well, perhaps running back. So you didn't want to put yourself in a box. If Cam Heyward stays healthy this year, you can draft a defensive lineman in the second or third round next year, and you can backfill. And then Cam can be a leader and teach that guy. This needed to happen. It has happened, and in a way where it doesn't hamstring the Steelers at all.
You literally took the words right out of my mouth. Like, literally.
Spider-Man meme.
Like, you took the words right out of my... They need him this year, and they hope to have him next year. Like, that's kind of the situation. Yeah. They need him this year, and they hope to have him next year. We hope that you stay healthy this year, Cam, so we can have you next year, so we can have you as that leader, because we are going to have to probably draft at this position. We're probably going to have to sign somebody at this position because this position doesn't have any depth, and we need to start transitioning into the future at this position. We hope that you can be around for that, but we're not gonna pigeonhole ourselves to needing you next year and having to pay you and then hamstringing ourselves of going a different route to have to fill around you, because if you do get hurt next year, then what? We're going to be in a worse situation. So you need him right now because of how the offseason went and the whole receiver debacle, things of that nature. You just kind of didn't want to spend your money on a free agent defensive tackle. You need him this year, and you hope to have him next year.
I think there's a really good chance that, and health is the most important thing, I think there's a very good chance this is a bargain.
Yes.
You're paying him as the 20th highest paid defensive tackle, interior defensive lineman in the NFL. And I think when he's going, he's a top 10, top 5 guy.
Yes.
So you make him happy. He's part of your leadership council, if you will. He played with Troy Polamalu. If you really think about it, you can go all the way back to Mean Joe Green, and you can connect all the leadership dots. Like guys who played with Mean Joe Green, then played with guys in the 80s, who played with guys in the 90s, who played with guys in the early 2000s. And you want that. And I realize TJ Watt is still going to be here, but Cam Heyward having played with those guys, and I think being more of a vocal leader than TJ Watt, if he's healthy and he's around for the next 3 years and he can show guys what it means or what ideally it's supposed to be being a Pittsburgh Steeler. I've tried to poke holes in anything here. I'm trying to find a problem. That's radio. You look at things and you think, okay, where's the poop?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I quite frankly think that he's going to stay healthy, and I think he's going to be here for 3 years. I think he's going to play at not the highest level he's always played at, but I think he's going to play at a level where he's going to be very serviceable, and they're going to be able to use him in a quality place in the next 2 years after this year. I do think he's going to stay healthy, and I do think he has 3 years left in the tank. So I think this is a bargain on their part.
Yeah, and it's not charity either.
No,
like that was
charity.
A phone
they
call.
Guarantee it all.
Yeah, man. I heard that call on Pony's show yesterday. The Steelers are handing out charity to an old man. 2 years ago, he was outstanding. 3 years ago, he's an all-pro. Last season, I happen to believe he would have been great, but he gets hurt, and it was a groin that bothered him the rest of the year when he came back. He rushed back to help this team. Those are the guys you reward, especially when you look at the framework of the deal and understand he was going to be here this year anyhow. They might not pay out the rest of the $45 million, but we all should hope that they do, because that means that he is productive. And if he's productive, he's one of the best run stuffers in the NFL, one of the best guys at getting interior pressure in the NFL. Those guys don't grow on trees.
Nope.
And if they had to go out into the free agent marketplace next year, they were going to overpay for a guy that might give you that production. And I'd bet that he wouldn't give you that production. So this is just a great deal for the Steelers, and it's a great deal, I think, for Cam Heyward, because what you've done here, just looking at it from being in his shoes, is you bet on yourself.
Yeah.
Okay, you're not going to guarantee the next 2 years, but I'm planning on sticking around.
Yeah.
Now, maybe he gets banged up at the end of the season and you're not in a great place going into next year where there's a difficult decision. If you're the Steelers, do we want to pay him the $14.5 million or $13.5 million, whatever? 13. Math. Yeah, 13.5 million, whatever.
14. 14.5, right? $29 million over 2 years.
There you go. Thank you.
Yep. There we go. Wow, look at that math.
Little Paul pause for some division. Hey, you could be in an awkward spot next year at this time, or a little bit before this time, if he does get hurt or something at the end of the year. But he's betting on himself, and they're betting on a guy that they know is going to put in the work.
Yep.
Like, that's the
Gonna
other
be
thing.
there.
Yes. He was there during this whole process. I think Pat Fryermuth's going to come down the pike real soon. My best friend, Patty Fry.
Yeah, that's your guy.
That is my guy. And then I don't think it's out of the question at all. Caboli and I talked about this yesterday, Dorin, and this was before they got the extra $9 million in cap savings. Like, this roster does not have to be the final draft right now. Like, you have all the way up until early November. They moved the trade deadline back. If you are a competitive football team and you think you're a wide receiver away and there's a team that falls out of contention early, now you've got the cap space to be able to go and deal.
Right.
And I don't know that necessarily would have happened with Colbert before, but he did bring in Minkah Fitzpatrick.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen Kevin Colbert be aggressive. He moved Chase Claypool. I could absolutely see them pulling a Jim Rutherford. And Rutherford would always say, the roster, you got multiple windows to complete your roster. Just because the season starts doesn't mean your roster's finalized.
So how much do they have now?
I have to look at the exact figure. I thought they were around 12 or 13 before. And what I've read is that this buys them $9 million. It's basically a restructure is what it is.
Yes.
Do you think this is a bad deal? 412-928-9370. I'm looking for negatives, not just to be negative, but there were people on social media and some callers yesterday that didn't seem to love this deal. If you're one of those people, we're not going to shout at you. We're not going to point and laugh. Kind of just interested in the why.
I just want to know.
Yeah.
I want to see or hear another angle to this of why, it isn't good.
Because I'm not seeing one.
I don't see one. So give us one.
Here's a text. Should have done this deal a month ago. They were waiting on Ayuk, man.
Exactly.
I think that's obviously clear.